Okay, so you want to know what's going on with all these changes in Canadian immigration?
A lot's happening.
Yeah, a lot is happening. We're seeing Canada kind of trying to figure out this balancing act, right?
Right.
Between boosting their economy, uh, bringing in skilled workers, and then also, being able to take care of the people who are already there.
Absolutely.
So we're going to dive into all of that today. Um, New policies affecting everything from permanent residency and student visas, even changes at the border, and of course,
Oh, yeah.
we got to talk about Quebec.
Quebec's always got to be a little different.
They always got to do their own thing.
Absolutely.
So let's start with, I think, the biggest news, which is that Canada is actually reducing the number of permanent residents they're going to accept over the next few years.
Yeah. And it's a pretty big change.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
21%, that's a huge decrease.
It is. And, they're looking at 395,000 for 2025, and then it drops even further to 365,000 by 2027.
Wow.
So it is a significant shift, and I think the reasoning behind it is really interesting.
Yeah, why are they doing this?
Well, they're saying it's really about making sure that the people who come to Canada can actually succeed.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make sure that newcomers can integrate well into society, that they have access to essential services, things like healthcare and education.
Makes sense.
And housing is a big one right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So they don't want to just bring in a ton of people and then not have the infrastructure there to support them.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for anybody.
No. Yeah.
So this is really important for our listeners who are thinking about applying for permanent residency. I mean, timing is everything right now.
Absolutely. You really got to be on top of these changes.
And it's not just permanent residency. There's some big shakeups happening with student visas as well.
Yeah, that's another area where we're seeing a lot of changes.
So for those of you out there thinking about, studying in Canada, not only are they limiting the number of student permits that they're giving out, but they're also making it harder to get a work permit after you graduate.
Yeah, they're really kind of clamping down on that.
So tell me a little bit more about that. What's going on there?
Well, they're projecting to give out around 360,000 student permits in 2024, which, on the surface might sound like a lot, but when you compare it to previous years, it is a decrease.
Wow.
And the bigger change, I think, is with the post-graduation work permit, the PGWP. It's becoming a lot more targeted.
Right.
They're really emphasizing aligning students' studies with Canada's labor market needs.
So they want to make sure that when students graduate,
Right.
they actually have a good chance of getting a job in their field.
Exactly. And that makes sense in a way, right?
Yeah.
But it does raise questions.
Like what?
Well, is it really the government's role to dictate what students study?
Mm.
And does it limit opportunities for students who maybe, want to explore different fields?
That's a good point.
So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I think.
Yeah, definitely something for students to think about carefully.
Absolutely.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about border security.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of this thing called flagpoling?
Flagpoling.
I have heard of that, yeah.
So this was a kind of a loophole that people were using to try and get around some of the immigration rules.
Right. They would kind of quickly cross the border and come right back.
Exactly, like just go to the U.S. side and then...
Yeah, just to trigger certain immigration procedures.
And it was a way to, potentially speed up the process.
Right.
Well, Canada has decided
They're not having it.
they're cracking down on that big time.
Yeah, they are. And it's part of this broader trend of really taking border security more seriously. There's definitely been concerns about illegal crossings and making sure that resources are being used efficiently.
And we're seeing new technology being implemented.
Oh, absolutely.
Even specialized border patrol units, like the one they've set up in Alberta.
Yeah. So they're definitely taking this seriously.
No doubt about it.
All right, let's get a little bit technical here and talk about the express entry system.
Okay.
This one's a biggie for skilled workers.
It is.
So just to give our listeners a little bit of background,
Yeah.
The express entry system is how Canada manages applications for skilled workers who want to come to the country.
Right. It's a points-based system.
Right. And one of the things that can really boost your score...
Having a job offer.
Exactly.
Especially one that has a labor market impact assessment.
An LMIA.
An LMIA, yes.
So that basically means that an employer has proven that they couldn't find a Canadian to do the job.
Right.
So they need to bring somebody in from overseas.
Exactly.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
They're thinking about changing how those job offers are factored into your ranking,
Really?
especially the ones that need an LMIA.
Interesting.
Why is that happening?
Well, there's some concern about fake job offers being used to kind of game the system.
Oh.
So, people are getting these job offers that maybe aren't even real jobs.
Just so they can get the extra points.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to boost their score and get into the country.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a problem they're trying to address.
So for anyone listening who's thinking about applying through Express Entry, pay attention to this.
Big time.
This could have a huge impact on your application.
Absolutely. Stay informed.
Okay, and last but not least, we got to talk about Quebec.
Oh, Quebec.
They're always doing their own thing.
Always got to be a little different.
And in this case, they have actually decided to temporarily pause a couple of their permanent immigration programs.
Yeah. They've put things on hold until June 2025.
Interesting. So why are they doing that?
Well, it seems like they're also really focused on making sure that newcomers can integrate well, that they have access to the services that they need.
Right.
So it's kind of echoing what we're seeing at the federal level.
Yeah, this idea of sustainable immigration.
Right, making sure that everybody benefits.
So, okay, let's take a step back and look at the big picture here.
Okay.
What's the takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think the main message is that Canada is still open for immigration. They're still welcoming newcomers. But they're getting a lot more strategic about it. They're really focusing on making sure that immigration benefits everyone.
So if you are thinking about making Canada your new home, do your research.
Absolutely.
Be prepared for a process that might be a little bit longer
It could be.
and definitely a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, things are changing.
And I think these changes really raise some important questions about, this balance between economic goals
Right.
and social integration.
Absolutely.
How do we make sure that we're attracting the skilled workers that we need, but also taking care of the people who are already here?
And making sure that newcomers can thrive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a tough question.
A complex issue.
So what are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I'd love to hear what our listeners have to say.
Yeah, leave us a comment and let us know.
What do you think is the right approach?